congratulations.
Thank you.
You had your premiere last night.
Yes.
And you said that it went really well.
Went well. People seem to love the movie, so
Yeah.
that's all that we could really hope for on that occasion. So yeah, it was good.
And this is your second
Film, first American film.
First American film.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in this feature film?
I just got sent the script through my agency and fell in love with the story and the character's journey, and I did a call with the director, Andrew Heckler, and I put together a visual document of photos and images that resonated with me after reading the script, so he could get we could kind of have a starting point to discuss the look and the feel of the movie.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the subject matter, you're talking about the Ku Klux Klan in South Carolina. How do you, as someone from Australia, how do you relate to that? I mean, what did you see the connection?
We have racial issues in Australia. We don't have an organisation like the Ku Klux Klan, but we do have issues of tolerance and acceptance, and so I could relate to the story. But you know, I'm not American. I know of the Ku Klux Klan, what they stand for, and obviously, it's kind of a global problem to a certain extent. So
when you were putting together these photographs and the images that you were saying that, hey, this is what I see. What were you going for? What kind of influences did you have?
We're looking at quite documentative images at that point, some street photography style things, but also things with mood and tone, kind of trying to feel like the South to be a real place, and we wanted to put the viewer in a real kind of world, and yeah, just a time and a place.
And then what did you do ultimately in terms of the lens choices, or how did you get that look that you wanted?
I shot some stuff on Master Primes and ZEISS Superspeeds. I've used both lenses commercially and on other projects for a long time. I guess for me, I was preferring more of a vintage look, but I still wanted lenses to perform. I wanted ZEISS Superspeeds that had good coatings, and because they're still going to put them under quite a hard duress of harsh backlights, and then want it just to flare out and become too much. So
yeah, I
showed Andrew the test. He really couldn't tell the difference, so I kind of went for super speeds, plus we could get 2 sets for the price of 1 set of Master Prime, so that helped with 2 cameras.
Yeah, it's really interesting how those lenses are coming back yet again.
Absolutely.
And coming into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, watching the rest of your work, there is quite a bit of, let's say, anamorphic, vintage style look, a lot of decontrasted highlights, flares type of thing. So do you tend to go for that kind of look?
Yeah, I like seeing what lenses do when they're, when they flare. I like flares when they're subtle, or they feel like they're there for a reason, and I don't like to necessarily put torches onto the lenses or anything, but when it feels like it's a result of the environment, that feels quite nice, and yeah, I do like a kind of starting position of naturalism in lighting, in terms of lighting for a lot of the films and the work that I do, so yeah.
And in terms of like the look that you're getting, of course, this vintage style look that you were saying, do you feel like it's more necessary because it's a digital sensor or film, or what is your take on that?
I think the fact that it's a digital sensor definitely, it helps. 4K TVs and and even projections these days are quite clinical and unforgiving, and I think although you can get so much out of a lens if you shoot it at 1.3 versus 2.8, though 2.8 will become a much more sharper, clearer image, but even at 1.3 you can get more expression out of the lens. I think softness if you want it, or you can stop down a little bit and get a little bit more contrast, and
And then do you work in conjunction with like on-set DIT? Do you create a LUT or a look as well?
I've kind of toyed around with LUTs in the past, and I've ended up kind of reverting back to just using a ARRI built kind of 709 as a base point. I don't like to mess with the cube too much. I think it's kind of, although you can get some on-set results, I think that just having something that is the same on every job. Sometimes I've tried making a LUT where we push a bit of colour here or do a bit of that, but I just think that for me, just to having the continuity of a 709 or a version of an ARRI LUT is helpful for the colorist. And I work with a DIT on set, but on this film I didn't have too much time, if any, to go into the tent with him. We were a low budget film and we're working so fast, and so it wasn't the kind of project where I'd sit in the tent after looking at every shot. It would just be like, we got to shoot, let's go. So,
yeah. Let's set up and let's keep moving.
Yeah, let's find out where the cameras are going to be, and kind of,
But so then, were you involved in the color timing session with the colorist?
I did color time the film, yeah.
Okay, and is that where you then start to create your look? Is actually then in the post?
We were so lucky, and I got to work with the most amazing colorist, Stefan Nakamura, who colours all of Ridley Scott's films, and he does big movies. And for me to work with him was like a dream come true. So
wonderful.
He was really. I learned a lot from that. Spending a week with him talking about the film, but he kind of brings his aesthetic to what's already there, and then understands what the director's trying to do and the world we're trying to create. And his philosophy is on this project was very much, let's not try and be too conspicuous. Let's just let it remain as it is. And
yeah, okay. Yeah. From a number of your other projects that you've done, I've noticed that you like to use wide-angle lenses and be able to see what is going on, not just the character, but also the environment that they're in. Yeah. Did that translate to Burden as well? Is that what kind of film it is?
At times where wide angle with the Forrest Whitaker's character, we're quite often on a wide lens in close to him. And sometimes when we were dealing with Mike Burden, who's the lead, he's in the Clan, we were sometimes on longer lenses trying to make it feel a little bit more haphazard or kind of, longer lenses, a little bit more intense kind of. So there was a bit of a balance there, but a bit of wide angles. I liked, Chivo's famously used wide angle lenses close on a lot of his recent movies. And it's a kind of powerful position for the audience to be.
And then how do you work with the production designer? Because you said this piece is based in 1996, so it's not like old period piece, but period enough.
Well,
because it's still quite a few years ago.
It's still, I graduated from high school in '96, so it's a while ago.
It's a while ago. Our haircuts were different back then.
Right,
I think I had hair back then.
What we didn't want to. It was a wardrobe thing. It was a locations thing. It was a set. We didn't have the money to replace background cars that might not have been 1996, and we just kind of had to the best we could, kind of, and didn't try and inflect too much of a period feel, if any. Yeah.
Now, in terms of you're studying cinematography, did you go to film school for cinematography?
I did. Yeah, I went to the West Australian School of Art Design, same place that Denson, who was just in here, same place that he went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did 3 years there, the film course, and I started working at a rental house in Melbourne as a prep technician, and then left there, become a clapper loader, loading 16mm film on children's TV series, and then worked my way up to operating and shooting.
Yeah, so you basically went up through the system then.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. How hard was it, or how different is that working in Australia, let's say, than now? I mean, you're more international and you've done a film in the US. How was the difference in crew or techniques or style?
Cinematography is a global kind of language, I don't think Australia has that different kind of crewing system, or, we grips and gaffers, and, they have slight differences in how they do it here versus there, but a lot of good cinematographers come from all different parts of the world, and kind of,
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you operate?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Did you do that for Burden? Did you operate as well?
We had 2 cameras full time. I had another operator, Michael Merriman. Yeah, so we both operated cameras.
Do you like working with 2 cameras, or do you prefer doing a single cam?
Single camera has a lot of advantages, and as does having 2 cameras, but I think I like working with 1 camera as much as possible, but it's certainly on this film Burden, we just didn't have time to get the coverage. We would never have got the coverage we kind of needed with just 1. Yeah.
And when you're doing those scenes, like especially the outdoors, because of course a lot of the South Carolina stuff would be outdoors, was it available light, or are you lighting? Or
I'm using available light as much as I can for daylight exteriors. I'm not turning any lights on pretty much at all. I'm using a lot of negative or positive fill. Very rarely for this film did we do any kind of diffusion overhead for day exteriors. We just wanted the sun to just, not feel like we were trying to soften, light on skin and stuff like that. It was, I kind of feel like sometimes you can see that, and certainly, I might use an extremely light diffusion for a close-up on a face, but any kind of wide stuff is just,
Yeah, you just don't do that.
Just wasn't that kind of look for this movie. Yeah.
Sure. And then when you're doing interiors where there's daylight coming in, do you like pumping light in, or do you like using?
I'll use a mix, depending on the duration of the scene, depending on what the expectations of the actors are. If we can think we can get the scene shot with the real light, then I'd prefer that, just to be able to shape it. Otherwise, if I don't think I'm going to get the scene shot, and we're going to start losing light, and that's going to put stress on the actors and the director, then we'll just kind of put a light up and just let it be.
Yeah. So what was your process for preparing for this film? Because you said that initially when you were pitching to be the DP, you put together a lookbook essentially, right, of what you saw. Yeah. Do you do storyboards, lighting diagrams? Did you work with a gaffer, or how did you do in pre-production?
We did storyboards, some complex sequences, like there's a bit of a riot sequence and a few action things, but the rest of it we did a shot list, the director and I, early on. The gaffer, he came from LA. He was one of the people I brought with me from LA, and he understands my aesthetic of naturalism versus artificial lighting scenarios, and Yeah.
How would you describe your aesthetic?
I kind of relate to naturalistic feeling movies and stories, and my aesthetic, I think it is derived from a naturalistic perspective, and I like honesty in filmmaking and in cinematography, and not too much manipulation of things. I sometimes don't like to feel those elements too much.
Yeah, yeah. You just want to feel like it looks like this all the time.
Yeah, that you can still generate tone and mood without being too heavy-handed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And does that translate into like even the style of your work? I mean, do you use a lot of primes and keep changing lenses, or do you go with one and just move in tight, or how do you
I use primes mostly, and my default lens that I'd put on the camera for any situation would be like a 35mm prime.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll love to shoot it. You know, I will shoot a mid shot and a wide shot and a close up on that. Other times I'll shoot a wide shot on a 75mm, and then I'll move in and put a 25mm on for a close. So yeah, it just depends on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then who are your influences? Like, who do you watch for? What kind of work do you look out for?
I love Roger Deakins' work. I love Greg Fraser's work. I love Rodrigo Prieto, Seamus McGarvey. You know, like a whole bunch of different aesthetics and styles, and Emmanuel Lubezki. So yeah, I mean, then I love Ellen Kouras. You know, there's a lot of amazing, talented female cinematographers around the world at the moment too. Yeah, so a lot of my peers I knew from Australia now doing incredible work, like Ari Wegner. She's just shot Lady Macbeth, which looks insane. So
oh wow,
yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, we were just talking about, we interviewed a couple of female cinematographers already, and there's more that we're interviewing this week, and they feel like things are stacked against them. You know, they don't get paid as much and harder to get the bigger work. But do you see a change happening? And
hopefully, yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's a great thing at the moment called the ICFC, which is the really fantastic that there's now that body. And I think women in every industry have it stacked against them to a certain extent. So the fact that there's a change for them in this field's amazing.
I mean, what do you want to see in the future for cinematography? Like, what tools do you want to see happen? What kind of lenses would you like manufacturers to make? Interesting
question. I think there's, with digital being now the main kind of platform, I know lots of things still shoot on film, but it's the one kind of creative choice we have now is to choose between lenses, variations in lenses, and they're all different. They all have different characteristics. So for the future, I don't know. Like I'm really interested about the new larger format lenses, and I think we do have such a exquisite selection of glass out there already. I can't really, I don't see the need to kind of keep trying to make new lenses so much. But yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a similar type of lens, but with more coverage.
Yeah, like for the larger sensor, or even just the idea of the larger format lenses like the Hasselblad or the medium format style lenses to be rehoused and put onto these new cameras is pretty interesting. Yeah. So if the next feature, if you could have your choice, your dream project to do, what kind of film would it be? What genre would it be? What kind of, what do you want to work on next? I just want to work on stories that I think people will relate to or feel passionate about. Or I don't have a dream genre or style of filmmaking. This one was a lot of handheld, so I'd quite like to do something more composed and more, on dolly and sticks and more static stuff. So, but at the end of the day, I'm just looking for interesting stories. Yeah, absolutely. Are you excited about the rest of your career? Yeah, very excited. We are too. And congratulations on Burden. Thank you so much for coming and talking with us, Jeremy. It's really been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. Yeah? Thanks a lot. No worries.